Welcome back. I am your host. I'm attorney Stephen Leahy. Again, joined by the gang, Deborah and Jim. We're here to entertain and inform.
That is right, ladies and gentlemen. Not only do we inform or entertain, but we enlighten.
We do. Three things we do.
That is right. And it's part of the 6 things you can do if you have IRS problems.
Well, actually, those aren't part of the
Enlighten?
No, Leighton. That's not part of the 6 things. I will talk about the 6 things. We've talked about a lot. The 6
Yes,
things.
we have. I was kind of doing a little.
One of the before you could do any of those 6 things. No, not any of them, because one of them is do nothing. You can do that. You could do nothing, and that's what we're going to talk about today. That's the question.
Awesome.
So let's go into the question.
And now, here's that man with a head just crammed full of knowledge, Mr. Know-It-All.
That is right, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Know-It-All, the segment where attorney Stephen Leahy enlightens and entertains us with information
Very good, Jim.
that pertains to our particular subject.
Very good, Jim.
Thank you.
Today, the question is, and this is one of the things, right? One of the 6 things you can do if you owe the IRS money is you could do nothing. And a lot of people do this. It actually catches up with them eventually, right? So I've had people who sleep in their cars because they're afraid to get the IRS is taking money from their check because they're getting garnished, and they can't put any money in a bank account because the IRS keeps taking it away from them because they've done nothing, and that the IRS just keeps taking stuff away from them. And then they do nothing more. They don't file their tax returns. And so I have people come to see me. They haven't filed in a long. I've had people haven't filed in more than 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. I have people, and they are living on the edge of society because they're not filing. They're afraid. And you probably should be afraid, since it is a crime not to file your tax returns. You can get a year for every year you don't file your tax returns. We talked about Wesley Snipes on this show. Isn't that right, Deborah? We talked about Wesley Snipes, and he went to jail for 3 years because he did, and actually he had other things, but what they put him in jail for was not filing 3 years of tax returns. But anyway, so people come to see me and they say, well, it's been a while since I filed my tax return, but I don't have any of the records. I don't have any W-2s. I don't have any...
There's nothing I can do.
Well, I guess my hands are tied. There's nothing I can do. What, can you still help me? And the answer is, yeah, I can still help you. Because what happens is when someone sends you a W-2 or a 1099 or any of these income statements, they also send a copy to the IRS. And so the IRS knows this, and they have a record of it. So these are called wage and income transcripts, and I can go back at least 10 years, and I can get wage and income transcripts. And people say, well, what if it was more than 10 years? Well, oftentimes the IRS won't make you file those tax returns if they're more than 10 years old, or if they're even sometimes less than that. So sometimes they'll only make you go back 6 years or something like that to file your tax returns.
Isn't that called the statute of limitations?
No, because if you don't file, there really isn't a statute of limitations because you haven't started it. Now, and I wanted to talk about that in our other segment, but we'll talk about it. But there is a statute of limitations on how long they can come after you and how long they have to once I file my tax return, how long they can go back to audit me. Generally, it's 3 years, unless I did something grossly fraudulent, and then they can go back 6 years. And that's why oftentimes they'll let you go back 6 years. So even if I haven't filed my tax returns in 15 years, I can go back, I can get the transcripts. These are, again, they're called the wage and income transcripts, and they'll have all the W-2s, any 1099s. Also, from your mortgage, if I got a 1099 from my mortgage because I paid interest, those will be there too. And so any kind of financial documents that you need to file your tax return, the IRS will have them generally. Now, if you're running your own business and you haven't kept good records, then it gets a little hairy, but you could still do it, and you could still get your tax returns done. And that's the first step to fixing your IRS problem. So if you haven't filed in 5 years or 6 years, and you think that you're tied and there's nothing you can do, there is something you can do. And again, before you can get out of the collections and stop any levies or garnishments or them attacking your bank accounts, you have to get in compliance. And compliance generally means filing your tax returns, getting them on file, and then paying, and then going forward to file them on time and pay them on time. So that's generally what compliance is. So if they keep going after my bank account, sometimes I can call the IRS and tell them, hey, we're going to be on this case now. We're going to file these tax returns. And they'll say, okay, we won't levy again. and maybe they'll give me 30 days or give me 60 days or some time so I can complete your tax returns. And in the meantime, they'll agree not to go forward and collect against you. And that will be first lift that IRS problem again, lift it from you, and then give you an opportunity again, gives you this opportunity to go back and file your tax returns.
Remember when we had that commercial saying that you guarantee a good night's sleep?
Yes.
I believe that is the case right there.
I agree with that. That's part of it. And people, because that's what they worry about it all the time. And, they think there's no answer. And so I think that's what keeps people up at night also. Because
So don't feel like you're sitting below, getting just buried and buried and buried. There is always something that you can do. And Attorney Leahy, let
me tell you this. I hope that answered that question.
Thank you, Mr. Know-It-All.
Thank you, Mr. Know-It-All. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you go to ChicagoTaxTeam.com, you can go look at previous episodes. You can get the 6 things you could do if you were in trouble with the IRS. You can get in contact with Attorney Leahy. The reason why I say this is because if you listened previously on our show, you know that there's always something you could do and always get an attorney, even if it isn't open tax resolution at 312-664-6649. We are trying to watch out for you, the American people, because we are patriots, ladies and gentlemen. We are all patriots in this game. The Patriot game. See what I did? Ladies and gentlemen, so stay tuned because after this commercial break, more IRS Radio Hour coming at you here on AM 560. The Answer.